Okay, cool guys. Well, let's get stuck into it. So, thanks so much for everyone tuning in for our Teach in the UK info session. We've got really exciting slide pack to work through everyone in the presentation to give everyone a really good insight into making the journey and moving over to the UK. But yeah, really excited to talk through and discuss the exciting journey that everyone has ahead, knowing that everyone signed up for different reasons to tune into this webinar. So we'll try and make it as interactive and engaging as possible. But there will be a lot of information that we throw at you. So don't think that there's too much at any point, because the idea is that we want to introduce you to lots and lots of different topics. So that way you've got a good exposure to everything as you go on your journey onwards to the UK. So we'll get stuck into it. So firstly, we'll just start off with an acknowledgement of country. So we respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands, the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, on which we are meeting today. We recognise their continuing connections to the land, waters and skies. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nations people present today. So we'll start off with a little bit of an introduction and then we will throw a few polls as well. So hopefully everyone's happy to type some stuff into the keyboard, into the chat. But myself, so my name is Tyler and I'm our UK overseas recruitment team leader. And I'm lucky enough to have been with ANZUK UK for a bit over 6.5 years now, working internally. But I did start off my journey with ANZUK UK as a teacher in Melbourne back in 2016, where I'd done some CRT work locally before making the journey to move over to the UK. Had a few mates who had booked a ticket over there. They're already living in London, and I've been over there a few years before and had the itch to essentially uproot my life and move overseas. And yeah, spent about a year teaching in London, and then I was really lucky enough to then spend 3 years working in ANZUK UK as a consultant and team leader for our London schools team, and absolutely loved everything about working with ANZUK UK, helping people make the journey over, and then living overseas as well. One of the best decisions I personally ever made was booking that ticket and spending 4.5 years living over in London and in the UK. And I moved home in 2020 with my partner, and then pretty much since then have been in the same role that I'm in now, helping educators, just like everyone on the call, make that journey onwards to the UK. We know it's a big move and there's a lot to think about, a lot to unpack. But yeah, Matilda, myself, Dan, and everyone on our team really attests that we all have a great passion for what we do, and knowing that we can help you, relocate to the other side of the world, or maybe even get work locally in Australia or in New Zealand. It really gives us a buzz every day. So that's me. My favourite country is Greece. It's hard to put down your favourite country. I know that Matilda and Dan will attest to that. Yeah, essentially, if you want to book a flight to Greece for a 3-hour flight, make sure you do the Greek islands at least one time when you're over there. You won't be disappointed. Matilda.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Matilda. I'm based in the Sydney office where we are currently, and I'm a UK-bound recruitment consultant. But worked 1.5 years as a part of the internal ANZUK office. But previously, I was, once like yourself, had the itch to kind of go overseas, literally jumped on SEEK, went unqualified teachers halfway through my primary teaching degree, and then ANZUK popped up there. So I was very lucky to be well looked after by the Surrey team. The London team did TA school administration work, and when I thought it was time to come home, also dictated by my visa, I came back and joined the compliance team, worked in the early childhood casual team, and then here I am in the global, apologies for that spelling area there, since September there. So worked both as an educator and on the internal team. And my favorite country, like Tyler, very hard, but I put down Austria. Back in the day, did a Contiki, did a whirlwind of European countries, and it really stood out. Bit of an adrenaline junkie, didn't know until I was there, did tandem paragliding, whitewater rafting and cycling, and really want to go back. So that's just a little bit about me. And on to you, Dan.
I've just noticed too, Dan,
yes.
25 years you've
yes, that's a typo. I definitely have not worked for ANZUK for 11.5 years, maybe one day. 1.5 years for me. So I work in the Southeast team as a schools consultant. So in a nutshell, I'm taking educators who have been sent to me by Tyler and Matilda themselves and helping them get placed into London schools, specifically around the Southeast of London. Before this, I worked in the civil service, and before that as a TA in schools as well. And yes, it was difficult to pick a favorite country, but I did settle on New Zealand. I went there earlier in the year, went over for 3 weeks. So finally found out what those long flights are like for all of you over there. Definitely a challenge for me, but it was well worth it. Very beautiful country, and I can't wait to go back and visit Australia as well. And that's me.
Thanks so much, Dan. And we'd love to throw a poll for everyone as well. So we'll throw a few more polls as we go throughout, but everyone just want to post into the chat where is everyone tuning in from? So if everyone wants to get the chat function open, and then just type in there your answer, where is everyone tuning in from? A big part about ANZ UK is helping create social networks and creating educated communities as well. So you'll see that there's a bit of a mix so far, and we're actually a fair few from Queensland, which is great. So thank you everyone for posting there already. And hopefully the goal from this will be that you'll be able to, if you're keen to do it, is to network out and meet other people that are journeying over. Most people travel over by themselves, which we're really present with. So these webinars, the Facebook groups that we have, the events that we host, which we'll talk so much about, these are really good ways to network out and meet other people. But good to see there's a few Melburnians in there. I'm obviously in the Sydney office, but I am from Melbourne. I'm up here for a couple of days working with Matilda and the team up here. So really good to know that there's been a late flurry with Melburnians there, which is good. So thank you, everyone. Cool. So what we'll go through, we're already touching this a wee bit, but essentially we'll give you intro to ANZ UK, run through steps in the journey, when to arrive, the visas, where you can work with ANZ UK, tips on how to find accommodation. Some of the really big questions that we always get asked, insights into working in UK schools, some of the relocation bonuses we have, the compliance requirements that are needed to work in UK schools, setting up for live, community, Facebook groups, PD resources, and at any point, please just post questions into the chat. We will have question time at the end, so if you feel like you want to take your mic off and your camera off right at the end, we have time for that. But please just reach out within the chat at any point, and hopefully we cover most things you need to know about moving over to the UK. And this little photo here in the bottom right is actually from a recent welcome event where we had about 100 people come into our London office and introduce living in the UK. Tongue twister there. And essentially, pretty much every single person here had only been in the UK for less than 6 months, and was able to meet other people who journeyed over. And we've got an event on this Saturday, which is the same thing, Barefoot Bowls. Actually, I don't know if it's Barefoot Bowls, but it's Lawn Bowls, based out of our London office. And apologies as well, because we have mentioned London so many times on this webinar. Myself, Matilda and Dan have all lived in London, but it's not the only place in the UK. There are some other amazing places where you can live, and we'll talk about Bristol, Surrey and Wales in a heap of detail as we go through the webinar, because we know the London experience isn't for everyone. So we'll unpack that a fair bit more as we go.
Awesome, amazing segue there, Tyler. Good work, appreciate that. So just wanted to introduce ANZ UK as a whole. This may be the first time you've heard about ANZ UK, or you may be an educator for ANZ UK, kind of your local state as well there. But pretty much in a nutshell, we're a global education company. With that there, we have 29 offices all over, 9 based in Australia, 2 in New Zealand, 4 in the UK, which will be the focus on for today, and 14 offices in the USA. So with that, within the 9 offices within Australia, there's always that local or interstate support. We have the one team approach there. So many opportunities within Australia. But however, for today, we'll be focusing on the UK, and just want to quickly highlight in regards to those 14 offices there for the US. Fortunately for the visa options right now, they're only applicable to relocate over there if you have a US passport or a green card there. So as much as we want to emphasize it, we'll just be focusing on the UK today. And just with that 360 support there, we are the Australian-based consultants, but we help facilitate you, or may pass you over to the lovely consultant Dan in the UK, and then they can help you over there. So whatever time zone you're in, whatever location, we are able to support you, and only a phone call or email away.
And then we hope that, as Matilda mentioned, that if you do need some local work before you go, we can get you set up, whether it's temp or a contract. And then even on the flip side back as well, once you've done your stint in the UK, which might be for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, or maybe it's 5, you know that we want to really stay connected with you, because we can support the early childhood, primary, secondary, casual, contract, permanent opportunities back here in Australia and New Zealand. So yeah, definitely make sure you stay connected whichever way you end up going in the UK, because we want to make sure we can help you on the flip side of that as well.
Wonderful. And here is just the slide on our ANZ UK values. And so we're very strong believer in our values. Don't definitely just have them on the about us or mission statement and leave it there. It's something that we live and breathe every day. So the way we kind of synthesize it is the be great opportunities there. So belief, equity, growth, relationships, empower, attitude, team. I'm a little bit biased. We shouldn't have a one that's the most important or their favorite one, but it would really be relationships. I enjoy talking to educators every day, different relationship there, as well as maintaining that relationship here and in the UK there. As well as with those relationships, we want everyone to have exceptional experiences. So that says use educators yourself as students, as well as with the schools, and we may refer to them as clients as well in the UK. We're all about promoting those exceptional experiences. One of the main ways of us growing is through word of mouth. So it's something we really do live and breathe. And we really do believe in the right educator, right place. Whether you're traveling to the UK tomorrow, next month, or in the next 5 years, that we really do believe in supporting you and whatever your journey, whatever it looks like, to help you out and facilitate that.
Amazing, thank you, Matilda. And we love polls also at ANZ UK, and we're going to go for another one, as much as we love our values and our purpose and our promise. Have you been to the UK before? Is a question which we've just like to throw at everyone. So we've got people from Queensland, people from Melbourne, Perth. That's all we've got so far. But has everyone been to the UK before? And simple yes or no, or you can throw in when you've been there if you like as well. You can go into as much detail or as little as you like. Nice. So we've got a bit of a lot of no's actually. London this year, great. Wee while ago, awesome. So it's a big mix, which is great. So you know, post COVID, a lot of people haven't been to the UK. A lot of people actually haven't been overseas before as well. So, but yeah, really good to know there's a nice little mix here from everyone. But great, Dan, do you want to no better person on the webinar to talk about an update life in the UK than someone who's literally in the UK right now? So what's happening over there, mate?
Yes, well, it's early morning over here for me, joining in. So for us, our summer holidays has just ended, which is a little sad. But in the good news, our new academic year has kicked off, which is exciting. Getting back into the swing of things, schools, you know, reopening and getting all our teachers back in, which is great news. And we've also had a lot of people arrive over the summer who are now just starting to work for the first time, which is great. And of all the people that sort of arrived over the summer and in September, we hosted an info session for them last week, which went really well. In our office, we had about 40 people sign up, come in for some drinks, some food, and getting some key information for when they've just arrived about UK schools. So I really encourage that when you arrive here yourself. And then on this Saturday coming up, we've got our educator event. So Tyler mentioned it briefly. We're going to be doing some lawn bowls. I've never done it myself, but I hear it is a popular pastime over there in Oz. So I'm really looking forward to it. And unbelievably, even though it's October in the UK, the weather is actually going to be nice for it. So it's going to be a very exciting trip. So if you do have us on the social medias, please look out for that on Saturday. I'm sure you'll see us posting some nice pictures like the ones you can see in front of you. But then, yes, already, even though we're in October, we're still looking ahead to January 2024, which I know a lot of you will be sort of looking to come to the UK next year, maybe as early as January as well. And so I just wanted to touch on the fact that, you know, January is a really good time to arrive. We've got lots of new work opportunities for yourselves. And it's very, very broad and flexible. You know, if you're coming over to do some supply work and get away from sort of the teaching responsibilities in Oz, that's great. We've got an ambassador scheme right for you. And then if you're coming over here for professional development and you want a long-term gig, or you just want a bit more stability in a foreign country, then we've got those opportunities for you as well. And when you are passed over to a UK consultant like myself, I'll be taking you through those opportunities step by step before you arrive. So yeah, that's a little update from us over in the UK.
Thank you, mate. And why would people want to go there, Dan? Talk about like what's happening, but yeah, give us an insight for someone who's from England. Why would all us Aussies and Kiwis want to move to the other side of the world to live in England, to Wales?
Yeah, it's a very big trip, as I've done myself. But it's not just about the flight time; it's about the emotional sort of step as well, and changing over to a new environment. We are similar, but there are differences. So in some areas, especially the classroom, you could be stepping outside of your comfort zone to what you're used to. But you know, I think this broadens you as a person, really makes you more culturally aware. And you know, I couldn't think of anything better than having experience of living in a different country. And you know, as an overseas teacher from Australia, you're going to be highly valued in the UK schools, but it also works vice versa as well. UK schools, I've heard from every single teacher, UK or Australian or Kiwi or Canadian, they've always said if you can teach in the UK, specifically London as well, you can teach anywhere. And that experience is the best you're going to get. And when you go back to Australia, will really help you with your professional development as well. I mean, what better thing to put on your CV than a referee from a head teacher from the UK personally endorsing you? But that's the work side of things and why you should teach in the UK. I think another side of it is definitely about the life experiences as well. You know, I see so many people at these events meet each other. The info sessions or our socials, and they make friends for life. You know, I had one, I had a few ladies join me for an info session a few months ago, and now they're actually living together. So, and actually, my own flatmate is a Kiwi teacher that came over who I met at these events as well. So you really do make friends for life all over the world, which yeah, I just couldn't think of anything better. And one advantage of teaching in the UK compared to teaching in Oz, we have a lot more sort of like school holidays, and you can really make the most of them. You don't have to take a 10-hour flight to get somewhere. You can take a 2-hour, 1.5-hour flight to Europe, and you can go all over France, Germany, Austria, like Matilda did. And you could just really see so many countries in a short span of time and really broaden your sort of travel experience. And the best thing is you won't be doing it alone. You could be doing it with lots of other fellow travelers like yourselves as well. So we really have a big community feel in the UK. You don't lose that coming from Oz. You know, you have the professional side, but you really do have that personal touch as well, which is what we like to value in. So yeah, that's teaching in the UK.
Yeah, and it's so easy to meet people when you're overseas, if you're traveling by yourself, because everyone who's there, in particular, they are from Australia, New Zealand, or Canada, or somewhere else, or even English people, of course. But you've made that same decision. You've taken a risk. You've moved to the other side of the world, so you've got a common ground already, so you can really easily connect with people. Because if you're at a pub or wherever you're at a sporting ground or wherever, you've got at least one thing you can talk about that you've decided to move to the other side of the world together, or at least at the same time. So just a quick question, another poll. We've only got about 3 polls left, I promise. So, but this is definitely one of them. So are you a teacher or teaching assistant, or even just like what your experience is within education? Might be a wee bit easier for everyone. So if everyone just wanted to post into the chat, yeah, teacher, teaching aid, or your experience in education. If you don't have experience too, that's totally fine. But you could list yourself down as a TA if you like. Amazing, thank you. I'm a PE health teacher myself. James, awesome. Primary, maths, great. It's a bit of a mix here, which is good. So this will help us in the next few slides as well when we're going through talking about the different opportunities available. So because we do have primary, secondary TAs, we'll make sure we cover all 3. Sometimes we only have primary school teachers on the call, but there's actually a really good mix. So we'll make sure we cover that as best we can. Cool. So steps in your journey. So everyone has a unique journey as well, just to really highlight. Everyone's plans are slightly different. Everyone's got their own unique set of personal preferences and drivers and when they want to go and why. But in a nutshell, this is hopefully a pretty similar journey in 6 steps, what everyone can follow. So initially from this webinar, you'll be invited to have a call with Matilda or myself or Olivia or Claire from our overseas team here in Australia and New Zealand. And then we'll have a chat to you, talk you through the steps in the process, chat about the visa, run through everything you needed to know. If we've got a CV back and then you're within 12 months of when you want to arrive, we put you in contact with Dan and the crew over in the UK. And then we, get the wheels in motion to get you all set up and ready to work. This here might take 1 year over this side. It might take 2 years. It just depends on whenever you're ready. If it's January 2024, well, this will all start to happen pretty quickly, essentially. But within 2 months, the compliance team will reach out. They work alongside Daniel and the team to get you all cleared to work. We'll touch on the compliance requirements later. Then we look to do an online registration. So that way we meet you. We would love to do video calls, but so there might be a few phone calls along the way. But that will be an online virtual registration where we make sure we've got all the things we need to fully support your journey and get you set up for work, your preferences and your compliance items. Get you cleared for work. The goal is that you're cleared to go before you jump on the plane. So that way when you touch down at Heathrow on the tarmac, if you wanted to, we wouldn't recommend to do it. You can go straight to a classroom and teach. But don't do that. Go check into your hotel, hostel, Airbnb, go do some touristy things, and then get into the classroom maybe a week after you land. But you can do whatever you like. But the goal is that we work with you and partner with you to get all this done before you go. So that way when you get there, it's not a stressful experience trying to find a reference from a job you had 18 months ago. So we want to do as much as we can before you go. Then you may be thinking, when do I go as well? So over in the UK, the academic year is quite different to the academic year down in Australia. So it starts in September, which is last month, and then finishes in July. So there's 3 terms. You've got the autumn term, which we're currently in. We're getting close to the October half-term break. So every 6 or 7 weeks thereabouts, you get a week off, which is good. Dan alluded to that before. We've got the spring term after the Christmas holiday break, and then we've got the summer term after that too. So essentially, you can arrive when it suits you, but if you're looking for a contract role, which we definitely encourage to consider as a really good option to when you arrive, you don't have to do it, but it's something we say there's lots of benefits of it. We encourage to try and arrive at the start of the term. So the start of January, the start of September. There are more contracts available at the start of Jan and the start of September. However, there definitely are schools that recruit for the summer term as well. So if you want a contract towards the start of the term, if you're doing supply teaching, pick a day, put a pin in it, and then we can work around that as best we can. The only thing to consider if you're arriving in the summer, which is great because then you get to skip the Australian winter, it's just when you arrive, if you want to do a summer trip, like how long of a lease you sign, if you want to travel for 6 weeks or 9 weeks and stuff like that. And just knowing that if you are arriving then, it's highly likely you're not going to get paid over the summer, and unless you got really, really lucky with a school that you found that was willing to do it. So you sort of got to plan that you're not going to have income for that 6 weeks essentially. So just some things to keep in mind. But yeah, we work with you to find a date that works for you. And if you're thinking 2024 or 2025, that's totally fine. Which segues into the next poll. When is everyone looking to go to the UK? So if everyone just wants to post into the chat, that would be absolutely amazing. Just so when you're keen to go. Potentially this slide might have changed a few things as well. Like you might be thinking, actually, here in the contract thing, I want to get there in January 2024. So if everyone just wants to post into the chat when you're looking to go, that would be amazing. So we've got 2024, which is good. July, September, great. Marco, we love forward planning here at ANZUK UK, Marco, so amazing work. And you might be graduating then as well, which is good. So a lot of things won't change, but there'll be a few things that might update. But yeah, we still want to chat with everyone, even if it's 3 years down the line, which is good. So yeah, a couple for January. So Sarah and Ali will make sure we get in contact with you, as soon as we can after the call to get you set up. So epic. Let's keep on moving through. So the visa, so a really important one on here. So everyone may have some understanding of the visa, so we'll just give you a little snapshot on it. But essentially, if you're under the age of 30, it gets a bit complicated, it's all changing, but essentially it's currently under 31, 2-year working holiday visa in Australia. But from January 31st onwards, it's turning to under 36, 3-year working holiday visa. So essentially, if you're not under the age of 30, if you're over the age of 31 and you're under the age of 36, from January you can apply. But most people will apply for this visa. Pretty straightforward to apply for it, but there are lots of steps in the process. And you can do it independently, but we do have a visa support team that can assist you with the application process because there are so many steps within it. But yeah, in a nutshell, it costs a bit over £1,200. you get full access to the NHS, which is that National Healthcare Service over in the UK. So the visa may sound expensive, but you don't need to get private health insurance when you're in the UK. And you can apply for that 3rd year after you've done your 2 years, essentially. You can apply within 6 months. So if you're looking to go Jan, you can apply now. If you're looking to go in September, you need to wait till about March next year. This is the most common visa. About 90% of people go over on it. If you're not eligible for this, if you're a secondary teacher, the skilled worker visa could be an option, which you can get sponsored by a UK school. There are a few more complexities with this, but it is doable for secondary teachers. If you've got a British grandparent, then you can apply for an ancestry visa, luckily enough. You just need to prove that you've got a birth certificate from that and your parents as well. And that costs a bit more, but you get 5 years in the UK. If there's any Melbourne Uni grads or University of Queensland grads on the line, you can apply for the HBI visa too. But that's a little bit more of a complexity. But yeah, just remember that if you're from this uni, you can apply for it. And then you've got the UK passport and spousal visa. So if you're going over with someone as well, you can make that journey over. Cool. So we'll keep moving through. I know there can be some questions that come from this, but we do talk you through this and we will share these slides with you. And we've got some really good resources on our blog page as well. And our visa support team are amazing and they can help you out a lot too. So
we just had a quick question. What does the HPI stand for? So many acronyms. If you want to go to HPI.
Yeah, potential individual visa. We're a bit shy on text space here, so we probably should have tried high potential individual visa. Yeah, so if you come from Melbourne Uni or graduate from Melbourne Uni, University of Queensland in the past 5 years, you'd be eligible for that. But if you are eligible for the UK ability, you'd be encouraged just to apply for this one because it's a fair bit cheaper. So, great question. The British people, the British curriculum and the British education system love acronyms. So get used to DBS, QTF, NQT, HPI, all the fun things to come. But the next few slides, Dan, do you want to chat through the location options for everyone?
Yeah, so as you can see from the picture in front of you, there's quite a few different options if you come to the UK. It's just important that we cover where you can get sort of more options and what work suits you best. So as you can see on there, if you're looking to do supply work, it's very crucial that you're sort of close to one of our offices, which is based in London, Bristol, Surrey, and Wales. But that being said, we do lots of contract and permanent options all around the UK. So if there's an area in mind, say Manchester, for example, that you're just dead set on going and living in, we can still help you find work in there. But when it comes to supply, it is going to have to still be around one of our offices. But I'll talk you through sort of the benefits of each region now. So I am biased. I live in London. London is an amazing city, one of the best in the world. It is our capital. Oh God, it's weird seeing the king there on there.
Let's change that.
Yeah, that's the last slide. But yeah, as you can see, central hub. And why I love London is just since I moved to London or a year and a half ago, every day I'm doing something. The weekends are always busy. After work is always busy. I never had that when I was living in my hometown, which is actually on screen here. I don't know if Tyler's done this on purpose, but if you can see Luton just above London, that is actually where I am from. Do not go there. Go somewhere else, unless you're flying into the airport there. But yeah, London, amazing. And it's not just about all the sort of the social life, the nightlife, the restaurants, the bars, all that kind of stuff in London. It's also the simplistic things as well. Transport, there's so much transport in London, and there's just so much work and so many variable options as well. So as you can see, the rent prices on the side as well, you are looking between about £700 to £900 as a single person approximately. And that I can attest to that. My rent is sort of in the 700 to 800 mark as well. And I live with 3 other guys in a flat in South London. But there's lots of other options as well. You can get studio flats as well. But you want to make sure that you're sticking to this sort of price range and that you're not getting scammed. So have these sort of figures in your head. And then, the cost for public transport does vary on what you're taking. The trains will be the most expensive, but they are the most efficient. But you can get very cheap public transport on buses, or you can walk and bike. for free. So lots of different options. Then if we come over to the Surrey office, Surrey is quite different to the rest of London. It gives a lot of people that different option because not everyone likes a big metropolitan city. Lots of people need that lush green space. And Surrey is very beautiful, has lots of beautiful towns, and apparently lots of famous films have been filmed in Surrey. Don't ask me which ones, but I've been told that by the Surrey office all the time. And the good thing about Surrey is that you can still easily get to London as well. So if you want to live out here in the peace, the quiet, and the greenery, and then on the weekend you still want to come have fun in London, you still can. Nice national rail will take you there in just under 40 minutes. And as you can see, the rent is a little bit cheaper in Surrey as well. So that is one thing to consider with the living prices. And then if we move over to, going to be talking about our other offices now as well. So I've actually been to both of these offices this year, and I loved both of them. So yeah, I am biased with London, but both of these options are really good for anyone coming from overseas, and they're often overlooked because of London being sort of the jewel of the UK. But these two are great places to live. So with our Newport office, not many people have heard of Newport, and I wouldn't, and I'll forgive you because I didn't really know about Newport either. But Newport is less than about 20 minutes away from Cardiff, and Cardiff is the capital of Wales, and it is an amazing city to visit and sort of live in. We have lots of nice schools over there as well, and it gives you sort of the in-between of Surrey and London. I guess you still got the big metropolitan city, but it's a lot more open and spacious, and it's a lot more cheaper to live in Wales as well, as you can see from the rent costs and the day-to-day costs of public transport. You know, when I went there and I went to a pub and I started ordering some food and some drinks, I was like, oh my God, it's so much cheaper. Maybe I should move out to Wales. So yeah, very beautiful and a good option. And then, as you can see, just a little bit over to the right, you've got Bristol, very close to our Newport office as well. So while the office is actually in Bristol itself, they cover the regional areas around it as well. And again, like Wales, lots of nice open lush green areas, but Bristol is actually a new and up and coming city in the UK. Actually, when I was younger, wasn't really that thought of, but now a lot of young working professionals move to Bristol, and the nightlife there, the culture there has really gone up. And Bristol is a really nice sort of bougie place to live in now, but still cheaper than London. So you've got to have those factors in mind as well. Yeah, and you know, wherever you're working, we'll support you. But remember, the supply is heavily in each of these offices. And then, yeah.
Just adding to, if you're not sure where yet, it's totally fine, because you can say you want to move to Wales, and then you get close and you might want to pivot over to Bristol or to London. And once you're there, you can transfer over too. So you can move really easily across offices with us. You just got to tell our team, the consultant, and we can get you over quite easily. I think there's another poll as well, or I'm pretty sure, at least if there's not, we'd love to know where people would want to go in the UK. So we touched on the where, the when, apologies. We'd love to know, seeing this, seeing a few maps and where people might consider living. If everyone's going to post into the chat, where in the UK you think you might want to live. That would be absolutely amazing. Not a city, Juliet, which is good. Wales, Ali, amazing. And Ali, you're heading over in January as well, so we'd love to make sure we get you competitive out. The Wales, there's not as many people historically have moved to Wales, in particular from Australia. So like the Welsh children, students, communities, teachers, staff love Australian teachers because it's not as common as what it is in London. You will be loved if you go to London. I don't think you won't be warmly welcomed, but yeah, specifically in Wales, they're really keen to get Aussies and Kiwis and Canadians into the classrooms there. So epic, well done, cool. So there's not too many London on here, which is interesting. I know Shekin has mentioned a couple of different areas, which is good. Great. I think
Yeah, this one's me. So it's about getting around there. So different forms of public and kind of private transport, similar to Australia in that sense. But with that, the underground, so kind of the London Tube, if you are based in London, then that is the main form of transport there. And so with heading over there, if you are going to be based kind of in that London area, there's not that as much heavy reliance on a car and can get away with not having a car there. And someone once told me, a local there, you can always spot a tourist at the tubes because they're the ones running for the train there. So really, it's coming every other minute or so. And I know one of the previous consultants as well, who was in the UK, said they were annoyed that they had to wait 5 minutes. So really, little bit more expensive, but you are paying for that kind of the luxury there as well. Biking is another option as well. Tyler will definitely attest to that. Dan and I, not so much, but that is an option as well. Or just traveling by foot or by car as well. And that is for more the areas really around Surrey, kind of Wales area, where there isn't as much public transport. But we really just want to press that if you are interested in an area, really do look at the accommodation and what public transport is available, and just to align yourself up that, making it so much easier in regards to heading to work.
And cars are pretty cheap too. I know post-COVID they've gone up in prices, but if you are wanting to live regionally and you do want a car, it doesn't cost as much in the UK as what it does here in Australia. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, if you want to ride your bike, I'm a big advocate. I used to love riding my bike to work in the UK. I still do that here in Australia. So yeah, definitely encourage everyone to consider doing that. And one thing I know we got really good, exceptionally well, was UK with practically everything you need to know about moving over to the UK is also in this webinar, but then also in our resources. So Matilda was just going to introduce some of the nice packs that we've got.
Yeah, so this is the info pack that we're more than happy to share with you, and it's just a really good cheat sheet, has all your go-to stuff about teaching in the UK as well. Very lovely kind of laid out in the first part of preparing to fly, and then the second part about once you've landed. We know there's so many things, we can attest to it ourselves with heading over, but we like to show you, kind of empower you what is in your control, kind of being in Australia, and then what you can kind of hold fire on and then focus on in the latter part there. And it has a lot more details about compliance things and in further detail of more than what we'll kind of go through in this webinar there. So we'll share this after with you as well, but really do implore you to kind of have a look through it. Got a copy of the academic year, and everything as well, like booking flights, travel insurance, organising a SIM card, everything in regards to that there. And we do have that on the side there, the before you fly and the after you land there. So really kind of imperative, and the before you fly is really just organising that travel insurance, booking your your 1 to kind of first 3 weeks there, accommodation wise, just some temporary accommodations so that you can kind of sort the longer term accommodation once you're there. Really getting your compliance things in check there, personal statement, CV, and then when you land there, that's when you can kind of look into the more nitty-gritty stuff of opening a bank account, applying for your national insurance, and then attending those arrival events there that we also do put on for the departure events as well. But a really nice, neat resource that would highly recommend you review.
100%. And then the fun stuff too, book your favourite trip. So when you get there, Dan just spent a couple of weeks, about 3 or 4 months ago, I think it was, maybe even less than that, in Morocco as well. You might want to shoot over to Bulgaria or Iceland, or you know, go to Devon or Scotland or Ireland, wherever. So yeah, definitely take advantage of being maximum 4 hours away from all those amazing. Oh, that's the link for the pre-departure track. Sorry, guys. That's, sorry, everyone. And we're back. Cool. Don't need to click on that because it's be out of the presentation. Dan, you were going to chat through how to find some accommodations, some hot tips for everyone.
Yes. So I think I mentioned previously that I'm not from London, that I moved here a 1.5 years ago. And so I was actually looking for a house, and then a member from ANZUK moved over from our Sydney office to London, so we started looking together. And then obviously I met a Kiwi teacher at our events who we now live together, and so we're all looking around for houses, and it's quite difficult sometimes in London. So that's why I recommend that, you know, in the previous slide, when you're booking that Airbnb, that hostel for the first couple of weeks to a month when you first arrive, just to give yourself that extra room to breathe and to look around, and so you don't actually just rush into a flat. Because in my opinion, you know, if you are moving to London or any place in the UK, you know, your time here can really be based on where you're living. You know, if you're living in a terrible place, you're not going to enjoy your experience. So you want to make sure that you're living in a nice place, and hopefully with people that you enjoy as well. So that's why we really push those events as well, so you can meet future housemates if you're traveling over on your own. And we have lots of different websites that are quite useful for helping you find flats together. So I highly recommend, even if you're not traveling for a while, even if you're looking at January 2024 or September 2024, even after that, looking at Spare Room or Rightmove, just to sort of see how it works, and to sort of see the rough rental prices in sort of the areas that you're looking to live in. I find that really useful, and it also just makes you more familiar, so that way when you actually come to do it, it's a lot more easier. But that's not the only way you can look for property. We have lots of social media and specifically Facebook group chats with lots of Aussies and Kiwis living together, and all the time they're posting on there going, hey, my friend's moving back to Australia, we've got this room up, and we would love to join. And you'll find that those rental prices are normally cheaper than the current market. So a lot of my friends who've moved recently, they're still getting prices for around that 700 region, whereas if they were looking on their own independently, it might be a little bit more, looking towards the 800s. And it's just making sure that when you are picking flats with people that you're looking to live with or on your own and just joining a flat here, that you are considering certain options, such as looking for furnished flats. Always look furnished. You don't want to do unfurnished, because then you'll be spending a lot of money buying desks, beds, all that kind of stuff. You just want to go into a nice furnished flat already, and just remembering that you're paying the rent, but you've also got other add-ons as well, like your utilities and council rates. So I am fortunate. I live in the borough of Wandsworth, where my council tax is incredibly low, as that's where our members of parliament used to live. So of course the tax would be cheap there, but in other areas of London it can be a little bit more expensive. So it's just factoring on all these things when you're looking for a place. But yes, my biggest advice is always make sure that you give yourself some time. Some overseas travelers panic a little bit and think they need to have a full year contract flat before they arrive to the UK. And then you can run into some problems with that. First of all, the flat may not look as good as it is on the website, on the pictures, or you may, even worse, be getting scammed on Spare Room. So you want to avoid that. You want to make sure that you're getting here and looking at these properties in person. Yeah, that would sort of be my biggest advice.
Nice. So we've got these really good resources in the area, guys. We've actually updated these so they're brand new as well. So it gives you the insights of where you can live in the cities that we've mentioned. But just ask questions, and we can be here for consultative support to make sure you feel really comfortable with finding accommodation. So we know that is a big really big question for everyone too. So we've got about a little bit less than 15 minutes to go, guys. So the next few slides we might quickly go over a couple, but not to say they're not important. It would just be because it's a little bit tight on time. So essentially the options for you to come over to the UK. So firstly, you can do supply teaching. We've got a really good app which is called Ready to Work. So you can log your availability, great flexibility. You can build relationships with schools. Really often, if you wanted to, can lead into a contract role, and we can guarantee you supply work as an ANZUK Ambassador Educator. That's available in our city locations. And then long-term contracts. So if you're wanting to continuity of your own classroom, increase pay, career development, improve behaviour management, we really encourage you to consider a long-term role. It might even be something which you just let us know, like what is your ideal role, and then we'll try and get as close to that as possible, essentially. But always keep the option open for long-term contracts. And then if all things go really well and we've done our job as well as what we can, then you're really happy and the school's happy, or the nursery that you're working in, which is an early childhood setting, which we haven't properly touched on, but you can hopefully get a permanent contract out of school too. So you're still part of the ANZUK community, but you'll be employed directly through the school. I'm not sure what's happened there. Apologies. That was weird. That could have been a lot worse if I was popping up. So that was just literally a fire. Not that I have anything bad on my computer, but cool. So just moving through. So the key stages. You may or you may not have heard of the key stages. If you haven't, it's totally fine. Essentially, it's how the UK curriculum and education system is structured and broken down. So you've got early years teachers and early years foundation stage, where nursery reception is where the school years start. And then you've got key stage 1, which is primary. You've got lower key stages, which is key stage 1, years 1 and 2. Key stage 2, years 3 to 6. And then in secondary school, you've got key stages 3 to 5, essentially. So just familiarise yourself with the language key stages. You don't need to remember what they are now. You don't need to know what the curriculum is within this just yet. But just to familiarise yourself that you will come up in conversations and in the school, because it's very much embedded into how the UK curriculum and education system works, is the key stages. And then the types of schools. So we work with the broad spectrum of schools over in the UK, from mainstream schools, private independent schools, co-ed, single sex, faith schools, community schools, nursery schools, anything in the middle. The UK has that broad spectrum of schools as well. So we work with everything in the middle, but we really pride ourselves on working with schools that are great places to work from a staff environment perspective, and that are a good cultural setting for our Australian educators to go in and make a really positive impact, to feel like they're supported when they're working there too. So some opportunities, lots of opportunities I should say, available in pupil referral units, which are behavioural focused schools. So schools that cater for students with challenging behavioural difficulties, and then we've also got lots of relationships with special educational needs schools as well. So these settings here might not be up everyone's alley right at the start, because you might have heard, or you might have a bit of a trepidation to go work in the setting. It's not a mainstream school, but we really encourage to give it a go at least once when you're over there, if you can, because a lot of teachers go over and they have career and life-changing opportunities presented to them working in these spaces too. So definitely consider that when you're over there at some point. Cool, and then support staff as well. So pretty much anything in the school you can think of, ranging from a teaching assistant to a cover supervisor, which is in control of a secondary classroom as an unqualified teacher, to administration work, to food tech, science tech, groundskeepers, you name it. Small classroom teaching assistants to one-to-ones to crew at the end, it's available. So I know there was a couple of TAs on the line. So no, there's lots and lots of work available for support staff. Most primary school classes have a teaching assistant, and lots of secondary schools need support staff too. And we also have referral bonus as well. So we hope that a financial incentive wouldn't be the reason why you would refer someone. Hopefully you're having a really good experience and you're happy to pass on that word, like Matilda mentioned earlier on. But we do have the referral bonus as an offer as well. So if you know anyone in your network, do let us know. They don't need to have education-based experience. My partner came over as a fashion designer, worked for 6 months as a teaching assistant, was actually an art cover supervisor as well before she got a job in her field. So it might not be a long-term thing. It could be something for 3 to 6 months, but most people find they love working in schools over in the UK in the support staff space. And some people end up doing 2 years, go home and train to be a teacher, which I know 100% happened in my time at ANZUK UK. So yeah, spread the word, spread the love, send people our way, and we're really happy to help them at some point along their journey, hopefully the whole way.
Wonderful. Now, so now we've got educator pay and relocation bonuses. So the pay levels do really vary in regards to if you're doing, so when we say supply, it's the equivalent of the CRT or kind of the casual day-to-day work, or if it's those long-term positions, but the UK consultant will go into details of that. And just want to flag it is, does vary in regards to your experience, so the years of teaching and the location as well. And for those long-term roles, it's likely to be paid on that UK main teacher pay scale. And we just want to introduce to you like just the terminology of you can be paid either via PAYE or the umbrella company on a weekly basis. We'll go into lots of details for you, but just want to introduce that terminology for you there. We also have a guaranteed work scheme, so the ANZUK ambassador. So that's with signing up with ANZUK as a supply teacher. The relocation bonus of the £250 after completing 60 days working with us, you'll be eligible for that. As well, there's a contract role for £500 for that relocation bonus, and that's upon agreement of the full-time contract, so it's one term or longer before you depart, and that's upon completion of those 60 days there. So a couple bonuses to keep in mind there, and the UK consultants will definitely go into more detail in regards to the pay levels.
Amazing. And tax-free too, which is nice,
Yeah.
which isn't even on here, but you don't get taxed on it. So that £500 usually covers your one-way ticket over, or at least gets close to it too. So amazing. Cool, we're smashing it through. There's a lot of work on this slide, so apologies, but yeah.
Exactly, and don't worry, I won't go through them. I'll just try and give you a nice summary of that there. But we do have to look in the compliance side of things and make sure, ticking all the boxes there and making sure that you are a compliant educator. So with that, they will be asking for an updated CV, and it is needing your previous 10 years of history for that. We have a nice, neat template that we can give to you, and for you to be able to fill that in there, and just requiring a nice smart profile photo of yourself, so we can present that to schools when looking for work on your behalf. And Tyler, you wanted to go into QTS?
Yeah, so essentially this is, again, back into the British education system, loving acronyms, but essentially for the teachers on the call. So if you don't have your full teaching registration in Australia, whether it's your NESTA or your VIT, we're in New South Wales and Victoria, you can teach up to 4 years as an overseas trained teacher without obtaining your qualified teacher status, which is your QTS. If you do have your full proficiency and you are fully registered in Australia, New Zealand, you can apply for what's called your QTS, which is your qualified teacher status, and that gives you mutual recognition to work in the UK as a fully qualified teacher. So if you don't have your full proficiency, like I mentioned, it's fine. But just after that 4-year mark, you would, if you wanted to stay, you would need to go through your QTS process. So there's pros and cons of going over as a grad with or without it. The pro is you get there when you want to straight away. And the I guess the other pro of staying in Australia for a year is you don't have to worry about doing your VIT or your equivalent later down the line. But you can go over without it. And support staff on the call, this isn't necessarily directly relevant. Wales, there's a few little nuances of Wales, which we'll talk through the people on the call that want to go to Wales. But essentially, as a qualified teacher, you'll be able to apply for your QTS. If you don't have your qualified teacher status, you'll essentially work as what's called an instructor. So you don't get paid less for supply teaching, but you just technically aren't a teacher in the eyes of the Welsh Education Board, but you'll still play the teaching role, essentially. So this is like a little nuance there. I can just finish on the police checks. I'll keep looking for time. So we need to have UK and Australian police checks. If you have lived in a country for more than 1 year over the past 10 years, we need to get a police check from that country, but may just be the Australian or the UK police checks that we need, and we distribute the application process of these checks as well. They're pretty straightforward, and we make sure that we have this on your profile so we can send you out to the schools and the nurseries that we work with. And then references, so we need 2 years of employment history from a reference perspective, and that will be covering from when you arrive in the UK, backdating 2 years, and it needs to be someone in a leadership position. For the teaching assistants, it doesn't have to be education based, it will just be your employment. For teachers, it will be your classroom based experience, and then potentially any other employment you've had outside of the classroom as well within that 2-year period too. But we pretty much literally 5 minutes to go, even less. So thanks everyone for staying online. Please don't jump off just yet because we want to go to the last couple of slides and throw out for questions. But yeah, Dan, talk about the ANZUK UK community. If you could, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'll only briefly touch on this because we did touch on it earlier as well. But yes, it's very vital that you do make your way to our events when you land in the UK and before you go as well, because I know the consultants over there, Tyler and Matilda, they do pre-departure events, which do look pretty cool as well on our social media. But for my side of things, like I said, it's a great place to meet friends, and you know what? It's just a fun day out. As well, you get to meet lots of different people. You get to meet the staff as well, which I think is really important, especially if you're doing lots of supply work. You're going to get lots of different people calling you some mornings, and it really does help if you can put a friendly face to the voice as well. And it's crucial that you sort of have a look on our social media and sort of see the people that have gone to these events and what they're saying about it. Yes, thank you, educators moving to the UK. And just making sure that you're staying in the loop. We do always send out communications of the events that we're doing. We do the monthly socials, as we spoke about earlier as well. Highly recommend to get that useful information when you land. And again, to meet everyone in the office and just come and see us as well. So there's lots of benefits to our socials, and really do push it I've met lots of teachers there that they've said they weren't too sure about ANZUK, or they weren't too sure about the culture and the feeling, and then they came to these events and like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't realize how in touch we all were together, and sort of that global feeling as well. You know, me, Tyler, and Matilda, we work closely together to make sure that you do have a great time back in Oz, in New Zealand, Canada, and then in the UK as well. So yeah.
And also you got the ANZUK
Oh
affiliated
my God,
sporting.
yes. Sorry about that. I
Yeah.
always forget about that part as well. Yeah, no, I shouldn't even. The t-shirt's right behind me as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
God, that's terrible. So we do sponsor
Okay.
lots of different sports teams as well. The main one would be the Wandsworth Demons, which is an AFL club in London. I highly recommend you go to that, even if you're not playing. I definitely do not play AFL. Did not even know about the game until I joined ANZUK. But it's definitely a great day out. You can meet lots of people there as well, and you don't have to talk about work in this one. You can actually just have a drink, have a laugh, and watch some footy. So yeah, highly recommend joining these clubs. And I'd say as well, for me, like personally, when I came to London, I didn't join a sports club, but I have lots of other hobbies as well. And I think it's really important to have that social side of things as well. You don't want to just go from the classroom to your home. Yeah, no, definitely not. You want to be, you want to have hobbies. You want to have people outside of that circle as well, just to really broaden your experience of the UK as well. If anyone's interested in some non-sporty things, they can join me in chess club. So much nerdier. But yeah, no, if you're a bit more cooler than I am, then yes, you can join the AFL clubs that we've got sponsoring in London as well. Oh, yes, and me as well. So again, we've touched on lots of different parts as well, but sort of the strengths with ANZUK is, I'd say, the main ones is the social side of things as well. You've got that community feel. To us, it's not just I call you, I put you in a school. That's not it at all. I really want to make sure that you're having a really good time. If that specific school isn't for you, you know, I'm hearing that feedback and we move you instantaneously. We want to make sure that you're having that good experience, that 360 support. Exactly. If you can't reach me or a consultant in the UK at any time because of the time zone differences, you've got Matilda and Tyler there on hand to help you as well. You've got that overseas community in the social groups as well, like Facebook. And you know, we are making sure that we're sending you the perfect information as well, like the info packs on where to live, teaching resources as well. And even when you're in the UK, that information doesn't stop. We've got our online service called LMS where you can continue your professional development. So, for example, if you're someone who's moving over as a support staff, as a TA, and you don't have much experience in a school, we've got lots of courses on LMS that can help you get you prepared for everything as well. So that's sort of our personal touch side of it. But again, we all have some work side benefits as well that we've talked about before, like the ambassador scheme that sort of sets us apart as well. So yeah, that's why I would choose ANZUK.
Yeah, love it. So good. I want to sign up. So amazing. So going away to the UK. So essentially, we really want to encourage everyone to post your photos on the socials. We've got a fun competition where you go into the draw to win prizes that we announced throughout the year. So if you have any cool flicks from Oktoberfest, from Paris, from the cliffs of, actually I think it's like Seven Sisters Cliffs down Brighton Way, or just London, Big Ben, or wherever, hashtag going away with ANZUK. And if you want to book a trip, we've got a good partnership with Kentucky, so you can get 5% off your travels with Kentucky. Yeah, that's just one little fun thing that we have at ANZUK for everyone wanting to travel and yeah, post those fun flicks that you get when you're on a boat in Croatia or wherever the hell you are, where the heck you are, sorry, I should say. So just with further questions, but just quickly to highlight, just we are finishing up the webinar obviously in this next little bit. So we will send you a follow-up email to book a call with myself, with Matilda, or with my colleague Olivia or Claire. So do expect that to pop up into your inbox. In particular, the educators who are leaving in January, we'll make sure that we get you on the phone as soon as possible. And then anyone who, I think it's Marco, is 2026, we still want to chat with you at some point in the next couple of weeks as well, just whilst it's fresh so we can chat through your plans. But yeah, questions. Does anyone, you can take your mic off if you want, you can post into the chat. You can do whatever you like if you want, but does anyone have any questions from the webinar that they wanted to learn more about? And also you can feel free to join the Facebook group too that we've posted into the chat. So that's just popped up in there. So we'll accept everyone onto the webinar, and you can meet other people who are journeying over to the UK, and other people on this call as well. So, but yeah, questions, feel free to shout out.
I've got one question. If we have a VIT and working with children's check, do we still need to get a police check even though they both do police checks within them?
Yes, you do. So essentially the police check is like a separate international police check essentially. So it's like an Australian federal police check. So the VIT and working with children doesn't suffice. So you will need to get that Australian and UK police check process. They cost about $150 total. And once you've done the Australian, you're fine. The UK, you just have to recycle it each year, and you can put it on the update service. So once you pay the £45, you just have to pay £13 once a year, essentially, once it's on the update service.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Dan, it's actually a good question in the chat, which I might throw to you, because I know you're in the ANZUK, one of the resident experts on POIE and umbrella. So Shaken has just asked, does ANZUK offer both umbrella and POIE? So we do. We offer both options. And it says, which would you recommend is the next question.
So it's a big question, and unfortunately, I cannot tell you which one to choose, as I'm by law not allowed to give you financial advice. But we do have a blog on our website, which Tyler can share after this, about the two different options, and we've sort of laid out the information for both. But in a nutshell, PAYE is quite a traditional form of payment method, quite simple. You work for us, you get taxed as you're working by us, very simple. Umbrella, it's used by a lot of different agency workers, quite a foreign concept to a lot of overseas travelers, but they do have their own benefits as well. As they've got their own online portal perks, quicker administration sometimes with payments. And just if you are doing lots of different work, you may not just be doing education, you might have other forms of employment as well, part-time. Working umbrella can really put all of that together. That way you're not getting taxed incorrectly. If you have multiple different jobs, the people that do our tax in UK is called HMRC. They might think you're really rich and earning lots of money in different jobs, and they might tax you higher. So working for umbrella companies is sort of a way around that, just to make it a little bit more simpler for you. So that's it really briefly. It is a bigger topic. If anyone wants more information, I'm happy to have a call or an email with them. But yes, we have made a blog on it, which Tyler can share afterwards.
Thanks for sharing that, Dan. And great question too. It's confusing at the start for sure. Like, don't think you need to be, what we call like a subject matter expert. It's definitely something which, we just always be really honest and transparent that there are big differences comparatively to how you get paid here in Australia. But once you get your pay slip and once we talk you through it, they do become a lot more simple as well. But yeah, it's definitely an unknown topic at the start for sure.
Oh, and actually one more thing I'd add as well. Some teachers, when they're coming over to the UK, they get lots of different offers and they hear lots of different rates, and they kind of get confused. And the reason you're going to hear lots of different rates is because PAYE and umbrella, even if they're paying someone equally, the rates are going to vary. So for example, starting grad teacher, if they were offered £145 PAYE, that's going to be much higher umbrella to cover certain costs. So you might hear an offer somewhere else say, we're going to pay you £165, but you really need to nail down, is that umbrella, is that PAYE? Because you want to make sure that you're not getting underpaid. Because if someone offers you, for example, 150 umbrella or 150 PAYE, they are not equal to each other. It is really confusing, but the 150 PAYE, you'd actually be getting more take home. That doesn't mean PAYE is better. It just means that if you're offered umbrella, it needs to be higher to match that. So you're sort of looking at about 171 to match that 150 PAYE. Okay, it is very confusing. I know, I apologize. It took my head a long time to wrap around it, but yes, again, I am happy to have more talks about it.
Well, yeah,
sorry, Tyler. I just
sure.
hijacked it.
No, that's cool. I threw to you because I know we spoke about this before, Dan. I know you've got a really good grounded knowledge on the topic. So yeah, definitely was happy for you to talk through it because the more we can introduce educators to the new topic, I think it's well served. So who's excited, I guess, is a good question. So instead of asking for a blank canvas of question, who's looking forward to it and who, is quite keen to, potentially even look to take the next steps from here. You could scream yes, or you can post yes. You can send us a pigeon, whatever you like. Cool. Nice. All right. Well, no, just maybe the webinar covered absolutely everything. So there's no questions because we have hopefully done an exceptional job and we've answered most of the questions that you have. But there's going to be more. So we get that for sure. So essentially, thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. We know it's late in the afternoon. So thanks for eating into your dinner time. And if you want to essentially book a call with us, we'll send you an email. Really excited to get to know you a lot better. Find out when you're going, answer the questions you've got. So keep an eye out for that. Any of this? I don't think is anyone from Sydney that was streaming before. I don't know if there was. No,
I don't believe so. Just saw a quick question there. There's similar info sessions to different countries, and we do have the one for educators heading to New Zealand.
Yep.
And we have more specific ones in regards to, hi, Julie from Sydney there, for Wales, and more specific ones there, but those are the two main areas that we cover.
Yeah, we've got one for Wales next month, and we do teach in Australia, like Matilda mentioned, teach in New Zealand too. But Julia, if you want to come to the Dolphin in Surrey Hills, drop us a note for sure. We've got a few spare tickets left, so we'll be welcoming a heap of Irish and UK and Canadian teachers to Australia, and then the rest of the pool are shooting off to the UK. So you are more than welcome to come to. I have no idea where you live, Julia, in Sydney. I know Sydney's a big place, so if you're free, come along. But if you can't make this one, we host lots of events across the year anyway, across Australia, before the journey to the UK kicks into gear.